Comics is one of the few arts where you're forced to use both halves of your brain. If you go to the movies, it's the right side of your brain, the creative side, that watches the movie. If you read a book, it's the logical left-hand side of your brain that deals with it. Because of the interplay between the words and the visuals, comics forces you to use both sides of your brain. And I mean, I said it on Argentinian breakfast TV, and it was too deep for the host, who had a couple of scantily clad models as his assistants, and he really not made a fool of me, but tore it to shreds. Oh, two halves of the brain, etc. A lot of nonsense, but I still firmly believe that. It has a direct tie-in to myself because, like I said, I didn't mention this before, but my grandmother taught me to read and write using comics. Unfortunately, I was left-handed, and in 1953, when I went to primary school, you weren't allowed to write left-handed. Because I could already write, and I couldn't write with my right hand, only with my left hand. My earliest memories of school was at 4 years old being marched out every morning before we started to stand in front of a class of 30 or 35 people with my hand outstretched, and it was belted by the teacher until I couldn't use it. I couldn't write with my left hand. And in fact, when I started trying to write with my right hand, everything came out like Leonardo da Vinci's mirror writing. Everything came out backwards. I saw everything backwards. This was obviously the two halves of my brain having real difficulty in reassigning roles. But you can see, I mean, this is my left hand now. This is what it was. I can barely use it anymore, and I'm sure that my early experience at school is what has caused this. And I was about 8 years old before I was able to write properly with my right hand. And even at that age, and even now sometimes, when I read things, I read from right to left. So I read backwards, which just isn't done, and it's not something I try to do, it's something I try not to do, but my mind does it automatically. So I have my own personal experience of the two hemispheres of the brain and how they interact or don't interact with each other. And I've often wondered about this, but I've never been able to come to a decision. If they'd left me alone to write with my left hand, would I have become a better writer at an earlier age? Or because they belted my left hand into oblivion and made me work with my right hand, was that what made me a good writer? And I've never been able to tell. I've never come up with a satisfactory explanation for that.